Rob Cullen is a sergeant with York Regional Police in Sutton, northeast of Toronto. And tonight's edition of The Inside Story with Avery Haines is a direct result of a promise Sergeant Cullen made to the family of an 18-year-old whose death devastated that community. Avery.
Gord, this is the letter that Sergeant Cullen wrote about a call he got May 17th, and in it he details what he says is one of the saddest cases he's seen in the last 26 years on patrol. And Sergeant Cullen ends the letter with a promise to Kyle's parents to get the word out so that this never happens again.
Kyle was an amazing kid, captain of his rugby team, very skilled mechanic, well loved in the community. Kyle wasn't into drugs, and he wasn't into, he had his party drinks, but he wasn't a drinker. We were really proud of him. I mean, he was there. Kyle had arrived at manhood, and you didn't have to worry about him, or so we thought.
It's Kyle's first day of his last year of school. Wave bye, Kyle.
18-year-old Kyle was every parent's dream teen. Smart, athletic, funny, with a big circle of friends, good kids, a great girlfriend.
Like, he was just nice to everyone and would do anything for anyone.
What did you love about him?
Everything.
A childhood best friend.
Really nice. He always got along with everyone. Everything about him was good.
2 months ago, May 24 weekend, Kyle had big plans to go camping with his buddies.
You know, here he is. He's supposed to have this weekend of his life. He wanted to take his friends camping this weekend and show them where we'd taken him many times, four-wheeling and stuff. This was a big thing for me. He'd been organizing this trip.
Kyle was getting ready for camping, and he came in and he says, "Mom, can you help me sort out and help get the four-wheeler on?" I had to pick our grandson up at school. Told my daughter, I said, "I've been texting Kyle and he's not answering." And I opened the shed and there he was.
Kyle Ahinger, 18 years old, star athlete, adored son. His entire beautiful life stretched out in front of him, and yet there he was, holding one end of a rope, the other end slung over the rafter in the shed, the noose around his neck, dead.
I phoned Dad and told him to come home, and I had to hang up on him because I couldn't tell him he's driving.
I'm trying to put together something as I'm driving, and what's happened, like the days you heard at work. I couldn't even pull in the driveway. I went back to the shed. They said he was in the shed, and I thought he was crushed or he was working under something and came down on him. I didn't know.
What I saw happen to Ed Ahinger, I would not wish on my worst enemy. I saw a man just completely destroyed in front of our eyes.
They said that your son hung himself, and what? Like, this kid wasn't damaged goods. He had his whole life ahead of him. I went out to his truck, and he's got a half of Timmy's going and a half-eaten sandwich. What, the kid just up in the middle of the day decides he's going to kill himself when he's eating a sandwich and having a coffee, or what the hell's going on?
Nobody could understand because this kid had it all.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
Not depressed, not into drugs and alcohol. Didn't make sense.
No.
Why would he hang himself? Everything was good. He's got a great girlfriend. This kid has his future ahead of him, and no indication as to why he would do this, and that huge why question just kept hanging.
It especially didn't make sense to Sam, who could only talk to one person, Kyle, about the devastation she felt when her own father took his life.
That was 2 years ago. It happened for my dad, and I would just always talk to Kyle about it, and he'd always help me.
And so when you heard that Kyle had taken his life also by hanging, you knew it couldn't have been suicide because he wouldn't have done that to you. He knew what you went through.
Mm-hmm. I knew he didn't do it on purpose. I just kept saying it was an accident. I knew it was.
And then one of Ed's friends went back to that shed, searching for answers.
He says, "Look at the rafter where they found him." He says, "You can actually see rope marks. It's all along." We phoned the coroner back, and he came back right away with a couple detectives. And the sad thing is that the coroner's own son had done the same thing 3 years prior.
The same thing is this, and it's called the choking game.
This is a lot more common than anybody thinks. It's that dirty little secret that nobody's talking about, and it's out there.
The idea is they're supposed to be able to release once they pass out and come to, and then they have a big surge of adrenaline from it.
He had choked himself out intentionally and unfortunately was unable to recover to loosen the ligature around his neck. All it takes is just a few seconds for you to go unconscious from the loss of oxygen to the brain. Once that happens, the brain can go into seizures. It can be stoppages of the heart, the cardiorespiratory system. It happens within seconds, and once that happens, the game is over.
They call it the good kid's drug.
The good kid's drug.
They don't have to buy it. It comes from yourself. There's no mind-altering state from it that's traceable.
And now, 2 months after burying Kyle, those who love him can see the signs of his dark and ultimately deadly secret way of getting high.
He would always have like red marks right here. And I asked him like a couple days before this happened, I was like, why is your neck so red? And he's like, oh, I was just scratching my neck. It was just itchy.
Those marks in his face, that's not acne, that's blown blood vessels in his face. And that's another sign.
He had big black rings under his eyes.
And the bloodshot eyes.
The puzzle pieces form a tragic and accidental death.
He didn't want to die. He was all pumped to show me some steaks he bought to take camping, and I was exhausted. And I said, buddy, I got to go to sleep, and I'll help you tomorrow. We'll marinate them up, and you can take them with you camping. And that was the last time I spoke to him. I hugged him on that gurney in the body bag more than I've hugged him in the last 6 months. As a tough guy men, you don't really hug a lot, you know. But you sure regret it later. Hug your kids every day because you never know when it's the last day.
And research out of the state shows that when asked about the choking game, 70% of kids between the ages of 12 and 18 said they knew about the game, they knew kids who played it, or they did it themselves. Only 20% of the parents had heard of the choking game.
Shocking. Had no idea this was going on. And this is not a sexual thing. It's not drugs. It's the rush of adrenaline that a child gets when they do this.
And if you go on YouTube, you can see all kinds of kids playing it with each other, and some kids do it on their own, where one kid will actually hold on to the other kid's neck, choke him out. When the kid falls down, passes out, the rush of adrenaline that comes through gives them a high. The thing is, as the sergeant was mentioning, and as you well know, it's seconds, and it can cause death or horrible brain damage. And it's one of those stories, it's one of those things that parents have, this really is one of those things that parents have to talk to their kids about. It's not a game.
Kids.
Talk to your kids.
Thank you, Avery.